Okay, so there's a problem within the bodybuilding community once again, and I'm here to destabilize it even further. I am drinking a Frappuccino because Frappuccinos are amazing. Let's talk about it. So I think realistically, bodybuilders are aware that it takes pharmacology to get to a point where your physique is looking absolutely incredible. Might I even say unnatural? Unnatural. Unnatural. But the doses and compounds that one chooses to get there is a highly contentious topic, and there is so much debate heavily on how to use a cycle, how to use gear to get to where you want to be at the end of the day. I have a really important, I guess, framework that most people could work off of that I think needs to be said with whatever compound you choose, however you plan to run your cycle. And it's simply that the safer use model is bullshit. Yeah, that's right. I think realistically, the amplitude of dose that you use should be prioritized over the length of time in which you use doses of anything, including Frappuccinos, because of how fucking outrageously delicious they are. I mean, I think one of these is 50 grams of carbohydrates. I do like 3 of them a day, so I'm basically bodybuilding off
Frappuccinos at this fucking point.
But if you're not aware, the safer use model is basically you start at the lowest effective dose for whoever you are, usually somewhere around 200 milligrams of testosterone, scaling upwards to who knows fuck.
When you concentrate food, you unleash its awesome power, I'm told. That's why I'm compressing 5 pounds of spaghetti into one handy mouth-sized bar. Hospital, please.
But if you're looking to be a competitive bodybuilder, there's really a timeline that you have to do that. I think arguably most bodybuilders peak around their 30s and really fall off towards their late 30s, 40s. You have this really good sweet spot in your youth where you can abuse some androgens and other compounds and pretty much get away with it. But the safer use model says that no matter what, you should start at the lowest effective dose and titrate for response over the longest period of time, creating a dose exposure that's quite long, but an amplitude of dose that's quite low. Now, what I'm going to tell you is completely contrary to this opinion. In fact, it might even be the opposite of this safer use model.
Well. How the turntables...
Which is a fucking derogative term in and of itself because this isn't safer. I mean, it's an extreme sport for a reason. You need to get extreme results to get the trophy that you want that costs $3 off the stage. How do we do this shit? I don't know. It's certainly not so that girls can hit on us. It's arguably my DMs are proof that it's literally just gay men who are very obsessed with you. But some people like that. I don't know if that's why you're taking gear, but if it is, you're probably on the right path. But if you're taking gear to get girlfriends, it's definitely not the right path. But moving on. What I would suggest that someone does if they're really trying to build muscle and have a career in bodybuilding and in general a fitness lifestyle, it's using as much as you need to get the results that you desire to get the overall goal accomplished. Because the longer that you wait to get there, the more you can incur health issues and the aging process begins. As a bodybuilder, a lot of the times age is not on your side. The more you age, the less capable you become in a lot of the things you do in the gym and outside of it. And so here's my proposition for you. If you can increase the amplitude of gear that you're using and decrease the length of exposure, you are going to make much of a better career for yourself. And this isn't saying within one cycle. This isn't a 16-week cycle. I'm saying increase the doses through the roof and then come off. I'm saying this over a career. Let's say a bodybuilder is 20 years old. He wants to get his pro card. If he can achieve that pro card by the time he's 25, I think that there's a very high likelihood that that individual is going to have an extremely great career as a bodybuilder, not only with sponsors, but his own businesses, whatever they might be, if he's keen enough to actually start them, and the future of his retirement. If you can start to coagulate enough income to be comfortable as a bodybuilder, retirement starts to look really good because you can start to see footholds into the ways you can make more income in a passive manner after you're done bodybuilding. But with the safer use model, this is sort of projected a little bit differently. It says, its proposal is that you start at 20 years old using the lowest effective dose, and you keep going and just slightly increase the doses as needed every so often. And so it might take you, instead of those 5 years to get your pro card, 10, 20 years to get your pro card, card. And by the time you're 30, 35, no one wants to really associate with you who's spending money in the fitness industry. Youth is spending money in the fitness industry. Youth is buying the supplements. Youth is buying the clothing. Youth is what creates a lot of the revenue in many of the fitness businesses that are sponsoring the athletes and paying for their life bills. And on top of this, it's much more easy to disassociate with your niche the older you get, as it is the younger you are. But there's this really sweet spot around your mid-20s to early 30s where you're kind of associating with everybody. You can communicate with the older individuals and you can communicate with the younger individuals, and you can make yourself a pretty handsome set of assets if you're playing your cards right. And so increasing the amplitude of doses early on when your health is most rigid and resilient can be an effective way to gain copious amounts of muscle and really accelerate your progress to a point where your physique is accomplished, it looks great, and it's admirable by many, many people online. Now, do you need gear to do this? Absolutely not. I'm not saying that everyone needs to get on gear, but I am saying for the certain niche that we're in, it is sort of a prerequisite. But this is where this model sort of takes off and puts you into a better spot, even in terms of health, than the lower use, safer use, whatever the fuck you want to call it, model does.
Hey, you! What do you think you're doing?
I am so sorry, sir.
Don't touch that!
No. Let me take care of that for you.
Get away from our mailbox!
And it's after the fact that you've hit your goal, after the fact that you've accomplished the physique that you want to have for yourself, and you look like a fucking hairy penis with veins all over. That sounded weird, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, you got that bucket. You look like that, right? And you people admire it for some reason. People really admire, like, your DMs are full all the time of, like, not normal people, but psychopathic, possibly homosexual people, which, hey, guys, I'm not saying homosexuals are bad. Great people. Great people. But the ones that are in my DMs, maybe not great people. but my point is, you get to that point. It does not take nearly as much effort in food, training, nor in drugs to maintain the point that you're at. I would argue that most bodybuilders getting from a national level to a pro level are using the most amount of gear in their entire career. Once they've established a place in the pro level, their doses and the requirements of the extremes start to taper off a little bit. They're not building 10, 15 pounds in an off season. They're lucky to put on a pound or two, and the rapid acceleration of that progress really isn't going to be a make or break in most of their careers. They're established. And when you need to make a weight that's just using myself, for example, the classic weight cap for my height at an NPC level is almost 250 pounds. If I want to get to that weight within a reasonable amount of time, I can't just play my cards safe the whole time. This is an extreme sport, and like many other extreme sports, it is imbalanced. You need to do things that are considerably crazy as fuck to get to a certain point in which people recognize you. So all of this to be said, one person should not be afraid of increasing the doses quite exponentially to a point where they might not feel comfortable for a certain amount of time. The rapid acceleration and progress will be worth it 5 years down the road when you don't have to push or expose yourself to larger doses of androgens or other compounds in the future. You simply push early while your health is resilient and can easily bounce back, and then cruise through, not literally, but you know what I mean, metaphorically speaking, through the later parts of your career. Realistic 240 pound lean individual can maintain a lot of their muscle mass off 200 to 300 milligrams of testosterone. And I'm working with clients on a daily basis, and a lot of their proclivities to fear derive from preachings of the safer use model, which has its merit. But if you're a competitive bodybuilder, not just someone who wants to look decent and better than the average gym goer, you gotta throw that shit out the window. You gotta realize that the extreme means are part of winning. And some people might actually say, like, this shit's gonna hurt your health and you're gonna be, you know, a sad loser and die early and whatever. But listen, if at the end of the day you're doing your blood work like a responsible human being, you're getting organ imaging, and you're visiting with some form of specialist, whether that's a specialized coach or an actual, I barely can depend on the American health society at this point, but hopefully you're in another country where it's decently good healthcare. If you have guidance, if you have someone actually analyzing trends in your lab work, trends in your organ imaging, and things are good, who's to say that you're damaging yourself beyond any irreparable means? Yes, there are idiots who let their blood pressure go sky high and let it sit there. Those are the individuals who are dying early. If you're a responsible bodybuilder taking gear with a responsible mindset of, I need to do lab work, I'm pushing the extreme, I realize that this is jeopardizing my health, I need to make sure that that jeopardization isn't extreme to a degree which I am actually risking my life very, very rapidly. And if you're doing that, you're fine. If you can objectively say that your health is genuinely fine, why fucking do anything else? Use gear for what it's intended for, building a copious amount of muscle. You might need more than the guy to your left or right. Everyone's individual response is far, far variable. So just realize that using more is not a bad thing. It is sometimes the requirement to get to the goal that you need. For example, if I was to say that you could have a $2.2 million company in 1 year, but you had to work 100 hours a week and you couldn't go home 4 days a week, you'd have to sleep at the office. Or the alternative is you could work 40 hours a week and make $100,000 a year and be generally happy, but you'd never really accomplish anything that differentiated you from society. You would say, okay, I get it. Like a year's worth of investment of my time in an extreme manner is going to get me a result that is unparalleled to many, many people around me. And that result is far worth it if your incentive is to make a shit ton of money. This too is no different. You sometimes have to put a large amplitude of work in when you start your career and want to start something very big, but as you taper off, as you've gotten there, sometimes the need becomes much less and you can start to then focus on other variables such as a lower dose approach if needed. And that's my 2 cents. Don't be afraid of gear. Don't be afraid of using a ton of it. You are going to be on it whether you're doing low doses or high doses, and its effects are still consistent. Yes, there's going to be a higher amplitude of effects that you might get in a negative sense on a higher dose, but it's still the same effects. So just, pin your ass, bro. Pin your ass. Take some test of iron. Look at this. Look at this shit. Take some fucking test of iron, bros. Pin this fucking ampule. You're gonna save yourself a lot of time. Spending your days on 400 milligrams of testosterone ain't it anymore. You take one of these and you put it in your butt once a day. That's a good cycle for someone who's not just beginning. Okay, if you're a beginner, don't listen to fucking anything I'm saying because you don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know where the fuck your ass is from your hat or whatever they say. I don't think that's what they say. Probably say something way smarter than that, but I don't. So yeah. Deuces, guys. I hope you like this video. Subscribe, comment, do what you do. Share this with your friends and tell them to YouTube monetization hates me. Tell them to share this with their friends and maybe it'll make them smarter. Cool.